All good? Excited to come to CMC? Yes. Okay, good. So, my name is Krish, Kothari. I am the founder and CEO of KKD Studio. We do ultra high-end residential projects in Mumbai. Most of our clients are all the billionaires in Bombay. Now, while you are studying it, theory, examination, practice, tests, quizzes, that's all fine. And you can ace that, you can get a B, you can get a C, you can fail, that's on the side. But the most important thing is the essence of interior design, the purpose of studying it. Now, you guys need to basically understand that, sure, you want to be interior designers when you grow up, and I understand that that's why this is your career path. But the question you have to ask yourself is, what value are you going to bring to the clients or the people who use the spaces that you create? That is a fundamental question that you have to ask yourself. Today in the office when I'm working with our design team, and they're extremely very talented, when they show me a scheme or a wall, that okay sir, this is the concept, this is what we envisage for the entire space, I ask them why. Whether it looks good, or whether it looks bad, or whether they don't understand the construction detailing on how to achieve it is a separate story. But I ask them why. When you're choosing a particular material, whether it's marble, whether it's leather, whether it's wallpaper, whether it's veneer, whether it's anything, you need to understand why you're doing it. What is the context of it? Does it marry with your overall vision of the space? Because you are the designer. Now, you guys are still in school, you all are practicing on paper, you're understanding design theory, stuff like that, elevation, software, CAD, geometry, XYZ, fixing details, all of that. But ultimately, when you guys graduate and you start working for companies or start your own, depending on whichever way you want to go, when you have a client, and this is real practical information because we deal with more than 10 to 15 clients every year, and as a designer, it's very important that whatever you're designing for the client, it has to be personalized. And I'm talking specifically about residential design because that is our forte, so I'm only going to talk about that. When you're designing a client's house, you as a designer might say, okay, I'm going to use oak veneer, I'm going to use Satvario marble, I'm going to use black metal as my accent, I'm going to use XYZ leather, XYZ wallpaper with these colors, and you put the whole scheme together. The scheme might look good, no doubt. Okay, I'm sure you guys are all extremely talented, and when you'll graduate, you'll probably be even more talented. But the question is, that material board that you're looking at, does it reflect the client's personality? That is the main question. Why? I'll tell you why. Today, you don't want to just be any architect where if a guest walks into the house and says, oh, this is done by Krish, this is done by XYZ. That's not the intent of residential design. When a guest walks into a client's house, they have to say, yes, this screams, let's say my client's name is Mr. Shah. This screams Mr. Shah. I feel like I'm in Mr. Shah's home. As a designer, it is your, I would say, mandate to ensure that the house reflects the client's personality, the materials you've chosen, the way the house operates, the experience you're giving. It is all based on how the client wants to live, not on what you all see the space as. And this takes a lot of time and seasoning because we as designers, we're very passionate about our work. We get married to certain things. Color schemes, nahi, mujhe yehi karna hai. Mujhe wo nahi dekhna hai. But you have to learn how to also be objective because ultimately you're doing it for a client. Okay? The value that you would bring is how you compose all of that together. A, how you plan the space, how it functions, how you're going to use it, and the fact that if your client has been living in a particular way in the past, if you've designed a new space for them, you have elevated their lifestyle. You have made them upgrade the way they live, the way they function, the way they experience each other within the family. Please keep these as your core values. Today, there is nobody in the world that can tell you that if you put a pink onyx on a wall and a blue leather panel next to it and green paint next to it, the design is bad. That's all purely subjective. The objective part is how well is it finished? How good is the geometry? How timeless is it? And does it reflect the client? Keep these 4 things in mind whenever you're designing something. Okay? Now, CMC, let's talk about it. You guys are here. Okay, there's a lot of marble on display. I saw when people were walking around, there were a lot of kids just talking and looking at the stone and saying, oh yeah, this is nice, that looks cool, that can be used in this way, because you guys are designers. Now, marble in India is basically marble, tile, stone, granite, quartz, etc. I'm going to talk specifically about marble. Marble is one of the most important parts of, I would say, an interior project, especially when it comes to residential or even commercial in India. Okay, so the question is, how do you choose the right marble? Okay, now I don't know how much you guys study in university regarding technicalities of marble, but what you need to understand about marble is a couple of things which I'm going to dive into, but briefly. The first thing is, of course, the aesthetics. That's purely subjective, whether you want to use a black, white, grey in your color scheme. You guys know enough about that. I'm not going to get into that, that's basics. But the quality of the marble, how do you determine the quality of the stone? Okay. One, the thickness. What is the thickness of the stone that you should be using on the floor as an international standard? Answer is 20 millimeters. How should you be fixing it on the floor? Because if you don't know how to fix it and your contractor, when you do a project, uses something which is from the past, and let's say they use white safari marble and use grey cement or white cement and it gets sucked in, what are you going to do? You can't. So there are synthetic grouts, there's something called laticrete, there's something called caracol, which is now being used. It also allows marble to dry faster. Point being, you guys need to study and understand ways of fixing the stone and why a certain way is better. Because as interior designers, your goal is not to select the right color only. Your goal is to understand the right color, the fixing detail, the thickness, the longevity, the durability, and what finish you ultimately want. So luckily you guys at CMC, they have an amazing, outstanding, one-of-a-kind processing unit where it goes from vacuum packing to cutting to then loading and transporting to your epoxy and resin fill to your oven and baking, which is basically your calibration, and then finally to your polished slabs depending on what the slab is. So they have an amazing processing unit here. As designers, I strongly encourage all of you all to understand the stages that a slab goes through, all the way from it being imported in a block, which you see in the container yard, to its final finished slab, which is what you see. I encourage all of you all to do that strongly and understand it for your own, well, I would say for your own education, A, but B, most importantly, it's very, very practical because clients later on will ask you. Now, when you guys, get older and obviously start working and you have your own firms at some point after 5 years, 10 years, clients today are getting smarter. Please understand that. It's an open market. Clients are asking questions that they've never asked before. Today, a client has even asked me, what is the chemical that you're using to fix the marble and why would you use this versus ready cement? That is a question and I'm in the design fraternity, so I have a lot of colleagues who are a lot older than me, been around for a lot longer. And they said that none of these clients even used to ask these questions, and they asked us first and I say, hey, listen, ask the contractor. I always encourage you all as designers, you all should know every technical detail when it comes to choosing a material, how it's fixed, the strength, X, Y, Z. That's one thing. The other thing is, back to marble quality. Let's talk about porosity of stone. Okay? Do you all know what porosity is? Anybody?
Yes. The ability of the water to percolate inside.
Okay.
Maybe the pores that the stone has.
Right. So if a stone is extremely porous, how do you solve that issue? Given that you and your client both like that particular stone.
I think through filling it with resin, that's what we've studied up to now.
Okay, so resin fill is now basically a standard process that happens and then it goes into heating. But even after that, stones are porous. So there's something called densification, where it gets dipped and then it dehumidifies the stone essentially from the inside and then it's cured. One is that, densification. CMC has an amazing densification unit, but they can't run it for each and every slab because the process is very long. So densification has to be done to certain slabs. It's the first part of it. The second part of it is when it's applied, fixed, and it's done, there's something called a nano-ceramic coating, which you can do to it. Nano-ceramic coating, it doesn't last for more than 3 years, it has to be redone, but that is something which makes it hydrophobic. So, these are very, very important things that you guys need to know because a lot of clients later on will ask you, okay, what's your name?
Shankar.
Okay, Shankar, you've chosen black Makina marble for this counter. It looks beautiful when you laid it during handover. I took my photos, the video looked very good on Instagram. But 6 months later, my toothbrush container, I put it down, I'm getting a watermark. what do I do? So you guys have to be in a position to know A, installation, B, correct selection, C, from a maintenance point of view. As designers, it is your responsibility to know it end to end. Because otherwise, when people give you a half-baked answer as clients, they're not going to like it. Trust me. You guys are not in the real world yet. You all can make mistakes and you all should make mistakes. But when it comes to the real world, mistakes can be costly. And I've been there. I've made a lot of mistakes, and we keep improving our processes day on day. This is what I want to talk to you guys about. And CMC, it's really, it's a very good point in time that you guys are actually studying interior design, because CMC has actually got their processing unit as good as the best processing units in the world. I've traveled everywhere around the world. I go to Saloni every year with my clients for furniture selection. I've seen Angelini, which is one of the premium marble sellers in Italy, and how they process marble. In India, you're at a point which is very exciting, because all that processing is now done here. And that was never the case 10 years ago. Now it's the case. So you need to understand why certain things are done, how it's done, and the benefit of it, just so that it's easier for you to convince your clients. A. B. As a designer, and I would advise this to all of you all, it's very important to be well-rounded. You cannot just be good at aesthetic or space planning. You have to be good at space planning, elevations, materials, and concept design, which is aesthetic. You have to be good at technicals such as schematics, fixing details, detail design stuff, making mock-ups, exploring it. You need to know your process from start to finish. And if you are ever designing a house, and you present it to a client, you need to know how it's finished. It has to be a complete project. Now, I know project management is not really a part of this because you guys are in architecture and design, and maybe that's sort of module you've covered yet. But when you start doing projects, your project management is a very critical part of the entire project, and I'll just be brief about it. Do not ever start a project unless you know how to finish it. Which means that if your plans are done, if your elevations are done, if your renders and materials are done, your 3Ds are passed, do not start waterproofing unless a client has given you a physical sign-off on every single material you have chosen for the house. Do not ever let a contractor start a project unless they know how to finish it and you know how to finish it. This is the best advice I can give you guys as youngsters. I mean, I'm not that old too, about 30, so that's really it, guys, and enjoy your time here. I think there's a lot you can learn. Please absorb it. These are very critical years in your life, and this will basically set your concrete pillars for what you are going to achieve in the next 10 years. Thank you.
Or maybe just, understanding how to put my thoughts on the paper.
Right.
But all these details, handy details, like, do I expect to learn this post-graduating from college?
Yes. You should be learning this post-graduating. So while you're in university, all the theoretical information is extremely important. You need to understand how to use CAD in the best possible way. A. B. What space planning is. C. The stages of design and the detailing, whatever you learn in theory. But when you graduate and you start working in an office, whichever firm it may be, or you want to freelance or you want to work in a firm, when the contractors are executing the project that you have designed or you have been a part of it, please go to site and understand every nitty-gritty and ask stupid questions. Ask every single question, why are you doing it like that? Be curious. In 5 years or in 3 years after you graduated, you will learn the entire process. In fact, knowing that you guys have studied design, if you stand on a site, maybe your boss has designed it, maybe your associate, maybe your senior, it doesn't matter. If you stand on a site and you see it from scratch, start to finish, there is 90%, you will learn 80% of the construction process on one project. And that is very, very important because as designers, you can't design something that can't be built, and that's the fact. So then it starts becoming a tussle with the clients. You need to be able to design something that actually is practical and can be built. You can't give something that doesn't exist. I mean, yeah, sure, you can try to do something that doesn't exist, create a mock-up of it, test it. After you've tested it, then you can tell the client, yes, this is going to work because I've tested it. Otherwise, it's all in the hava. Please don't do anything in the hava. That's my only pet peeve. Anyone else, guys? My thing is, my strength, I would say, is to see the overall vision of the project. How they're going to experience it. What I was talking to you guys initially. That's what it is. And yes, I did 8 years ago. I mapped it out exactly where I want to be. And to be honest, I'm about 6 months off, but I'll get there. So I did work under someone. I worked under an architect called for about a year. I learned how to execute projects with her. So the part where I learned the on-site stuff was with her. And after I did 2 projects with her, I kind of realized that, hey, I kind of got this whole thing, and because I spend a lot of time in construction fairs and stuff like that and construction technology, I said that, this entire process can be done a lot faster and a lot better and with a better finish. So I took the big risk of starting my own company.
So did you get the confidence by then?
To be honest, I still don't have 100% confidence in executing a site from start to finish and knowing exactly every detail, but I'm at about 95, to be honest. And I probably still have another 30 years to go to get to 100%. But by the time I hit that 100% after 30 years, there'll be new construction tech and detailing will change again, factually. So to answer that, that's the best answer I can give. As you're studying in residential and commercial, it's a much larger conversation. So you need to understand the essence of it, you need to study the meaning of it, the purpose of it, and interpret it in your own way. That's what will bring your individualism out. It's not like this is right and this is wrong. Yes, in construction detailing, there's the objective answer that yes, ye galat hai. But in terms of envisaging materials and the experience of how a client interacts with his home, there is no right or wrong. So, you guys have anything, please ask me. I've had a very tough time with clients and I've had a very good time with clients also. So I've been on both sides of the playing field.
Now that we get projects, we are told to design a concept. I think I come up with very cliche, stupid sort of concepts. So how would you develop a concept for a project?
So I'm going to take this. So the question was, if you guys couldn't realize, how do you develop a concept? Okay. So I split this into 2 buckets to answer your question. The first one is the vision that I have for a space. If I'm envisaging X, Y, Z, what experiences in my life have I been through for me to actually envisage this? How much have I traveled? Where have I traveled? Which hotels have I stayed in? What have I seen in my life? All the way from childhood to, current. That is what will determine how I will envisage the project. So it's basically who you are and who your experiences are. Your net sum of experience is your output, ultimately. Please understand that. And that is the individuality you bring to the table. That's the first part of it. The second part of it is actually implementing the work. So the implementation of the work, there's a standard process that we have developed in the firm which we follow. And that it goes from space planning, and in concept design we first look at the design brief. How does the client want to experience the space? What is it being used for? Based on that, what are the client's budgets? Selections are done accordingly. So there's a full blockchain process of how it's done, but the main essence, you guys are in school right now and every firm has a different process, but in school you need to understand what influences you as a designer. Like for example, if you go to a marble processing / showroom like CMC, and all of you look at 5, 10, 15, 20 different slabs, and you say, oh, I like that one. Fair enough, you like that one, but why do you like it? What is your connect with it? You guys need to analyze that at a deeper level, and that's what will give you clarity on how your concepts are made.
So do you rather process the concept while you are talking to the client or while you visit the site?
So it's a constant parallel process, to be very honest, because as you talk to the client, you kind of get to know the client better, A, and B, when you're on site, you kind of envisage how the space should be used based on the requirements, but actually what determines, I sound kind of stupid when I say this to people, but and I say this to my clients as well, so I'm going to say it to you. When my clients are sitting opposite me, I literally take out their Charitra Chitran on paper, and I say, okay, now if I had to make this a material board, how would I do it? Look at that, look at this, look at that, look at this, and break my head for a week, and come up with something, to be very honest. That's how it is. And the design process is endless. It is endless. You have to have the discipline in order to structure yourself, in order to get output. Talent without structure is useless. Saying that, you quote me on that. Talent without structure is useless. Wow, that's a very good question. I actually haven't thought about it. I think it was creating a main door made out of marble on both sides, which was 8 by 4. 32 square feet of marble on both sides. So the door was about 600 kilos long.
Like what?
No, a door, main door, that pivots on marble on both sides, a 600 kilo door. So what hardware supports that?
Just marble, no.
No. Obviously, aluminium framework, rock wool, ply, marble, the whole thing. But the entire door, as a door, is 600 kilos. There's no hinge in the world that's going to take that. So how do you maneuver it sustainably? And my procurement specialist is sitting at the back today. Ankit, you can wave. So Ankit and I looked for 2 months. We finally found a company which was called Fritz Jurgens, and we were doing this on a client's time. Finally found a company called Fritz Jurgens. They make pivot systems which range from 300, 450, 700,000 kilos. Just a pivot. So an entire 600 kilo black Marquina fluted marble door is rotating on a pivot which is concealed in the floor. You can't see it. 600 kilograms. That was one of the most, I would say that's more engineering than interior design, but the fact that it works sustainably. Then we had another problem because the door was a pivot, but they had a biometric lock, so they had to stop at a frame so that the lock would close. Otherwise, it wouldn't close, it would just go ahead. So the frame, we initially did it in a typical wood putty, it would break because of the weight. So how do you do that? Well, you use a rubberized gasket around the place so it takes the absorption, and then you anchor fastener the wood putty inside the frame to make it airtight. It's a lot of complex stuff. We use a rubber gasket. You know, in cars and doors, you shut them, it takes the vibration. We use the rubber gasket on the frame. So when the door closes, it hits the rubber gasket and slows down. Because the door is so heavy, it just knock the wood putty out of the window after maybe a month. A lot of technical challenges on site, especially when you're doing high-end. It was in Mumbai. It was an ultrasound road in Mumbai. Now I cannot specify a client's name, otherwise my non-disclosure will stop me.
You can check out the door on our social media.
But the door is on
Social media.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff on our Instagram page in terms of crazy high-end residential detailing. We use a lot of marble on walls. We use a lot of. Our sites are technically very, very complex. Again, that's to benefit the client ultimately because they're using it. If you see our conduiting and electrical wiring that goes into the MDB, it's basically this much and about this much. There's that many conduits. It's very complex, but we get that. Sorry? I can't hear.
What's your?
It's called KKD. If you guys just type in KKD in your Instagram, it'll show up as KKD Studio as the first page. You can just check it out. Hi, sorry.
Now we need to start with the second.
Start. Okay guys, last 2 questions. I've been told that we have the second round.
Yes, we have second session also. We have no idea.
Yeah.
So, if you feel like if you have envisioned something for a particular space or like for a particular, you have envisioned it for that thing. If it doesn't go as planned, if you fail, if it goes wrong, what do you like? What is your reaction?
So the honest answer is it's never gone wrong. And I'll tell you why. It's nothing to do with my talent or anything else. It's to do with the process that we have in place at our company and the structure that we follow. So once we show renders to a client, the client sees a 3D. They're very happy and they have that in their head. But then we show them physical, full-size materials of every damn thing in the 3D. And until they sign off, I don't start. So that gap is closed. You see, as interior designers, we can visualize. Clients can't. How do you close the gap? 3D renders, okay. AR and VR, make them walk through the space, fine. But ultimately, what they see on site, full-size physical samples. So if I'm showing a marble in a render, boss, this is your 10x6 slab, look at it. If you don't sign off, I'm not moving ahead. End of story. No questions asked. There. Yeah, that's how it is for every material. So that the clients know before we start the project how exactly everything is going to look and they sign off. Once they get out of my head, then we start the project. Otherwise, we don't start the project. We're not in that process of going on site, taking decisions on site. Mujhe ye chahiye, mujhe wo chahiye. You'll go mad. You'll take 2 years to finish a project. Finish all the design approvals from the beginning, sanitary materials, everything full size, physically. Bye-bye clients, deal with the contractors, finish the project. Keep that in mind, basic principles. Everyone in the Western Hemisphere follows that. For some reason in India, not a lot of people follow that, but they should be.
Because a lot of on-site changes are happening nowadays, like the clients.
That's because the gap between what you envisage and what the client understands is not bridged. That's why they're changing.
even after confirming, they are like, now let's do this. I've seen this somewhere again.
True, but if you use a process to confirm everything, only 1 or 2% of the project will be changed. And then you have less magazmari going ahead.
And there's
But-
a clause in the contract.
And there's a clause that if you make a change, you charge them the fees not only for the floor, for the wall as well. You make that very, very clear from day one. Your time, even though a client has paid you for it, you are never going to get that time back in your life. No matter how much money you get for it. Remember that. Use your time wisely, every minute counts. The only thing you know from the day you're born is at some point you're going to die. You don't know when. That's why use your time wisely. That's it.
How do you,
I can't hear you.
how do you visualize the whole thing in your mind? Like how do you train your mind to do that? Small, medium, and big.
Yeah, I walk through a space, I look at a blank wall, I understand the client brief, and I say, okay, this should go here, this should go here, this should go here, this should go here, this should go here. That comes naturally. You cannot train yourself to do that. It comes naturally.
I have one last question. What is your favorite elevator pitch?
Go to what?
Elevator pitch and elevator pitch. What do you tell your potential clients about yourself?
Nothing. Check out my finish. If you like anyone else's, let me know. If you like mine, sign up.